What's up, everybody? This is the Loudmouth, your boy Tim, the liberal loudmouth.
And as always, where Tim's at, you got the real Ron. And today, Tim, we have another local politician, not local necessarily, but local for Oklahoma. It's a Kendra Wesson out of House. She's running for House District 46, Republican conservative Christian lady, very involved in her community. And she's going to grace us with her presence and just have a conversation like we did with Ryan Walters the other day. So go ahead and bring her up, and I'll let her talk about herself for just a few minutes there.
All right. Well, hello, Kendra. How's it going?
Going great. How are you guys?
Doing just fine. Glad to have you here.
I'm gonna let y'all know that I woke up this morning and I actually got better looking.
Was that even possible, Ron?
I thought that last night when I went to bed. I was like, "This is the peak."
And I didn't think it was possible.
Kendra Wesson, how you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing well.
Kendra and I have met one time, I believe, in person.
Yes.
Met your husband. You came up to Tulsa for a cheer competition, I believe.
Yes.
And so why don't you just give us a little bit of background, family, friends, jobs, things like that, and then we'll start the conversation out.
All right. So grew up here in Oklahoma. Lived in what would be considered tribal areas, Fort Cobb, Gracemont, lived in Indian housing, bounced around to about 9 different schools before I finally graduated. And then I had children and finished my college degree with 4 little ones and ended up moving on to own an accounting firm here in Norman. And I provide consulting services to businesses of all industries and sizes. Just whatever their needs are. I like to be hands-on, and accounting can sometimes have you stuck at a computer screen all day, and that was not my jam. So I created something where I can serve people and help them and get out of my office once in a while.
So I assume your degree is in accounting.
I have a degree in accounting, minor in ethics, and then 2 other degrees.
You had 2 associate's degrees. Weren't they both in accounting?
One's in accounting, one's in business enterprise, which is an entrepreneurial degree.
Wow, but somebody did their homework, Tim.
But your bachelor's was an emphasis on CPA.
That's right.
Okay.
So in Oklahoma, you have to have 150 hours of college to test for the CPA exam. A typical degree is 120, so I have those 30 extra hours.
Yeah, I'm terrible with numbers and all that stuff, but some people really like that. So more power to you. We need people like you around for sure.
Let me ask you this, Kendra, because just being a supporter of any candidate or being outspoken kind of gets you in trouble. So I can't imagine anybody wanting to run for office. What made you, is this your first campaign, and what made you want to be an elected official for whatever reason?
It is my first campaign. Let me turn my phone off here. Sorry.
Yeah, that crap's getting on my nerves. Come on now.
Yeah. Get it together. Be professional. This is my first campaign. I actually had always said that I would never campaign, that I much preferred, like you guys, to hold people accountable. There's a lot more you can say outside of a campaign.
There's
a lot more you can do. And it's actually, you can get a lot more done than someone in an elected office. That's just the facts. And, God had other plans. And I don't make it a habit of crossing him, because I learned a long time ago that if I follow what he has me do, things turn out better. So I just felt like in this area, we weren't being represented the way we thought.
Okay.
Was there like one particular thing that happened that, you were like, okay, that was just a bridge too far? If that's the case, what was that thing?
There were several things. We have a representative who missed a vote that would protect our police officers. He voted against the bill that was put in place to say that churches could not be shut down during an emergency or a pandemic. Very against guns, carrying guns, and all 4 red flag laws. And so I just felt like Norman is.
How in the world did he get elected in Oklahoma? Just off those 3 things. I don't understand that. But I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. Go ahead. Wow.
Well, Norman's a little bit different.
I'm learning that.
I don't think we were paying much attention back in 2017. Honestly, I think that as people, when things are going well, we typically don't ask questions. And then when they start not going well, or we're brought to awareness about issues, all of a sudden we want to be involved. And I don't know what the solution is to that, but I feel like as people, we could probably save ourselves a lot of heartache by jumping in before there's a problem. But we all know that, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. But then you look at people in their 20s and their 30s, and they've got babies at home. They're trying to work, figure out how to orchestrate daycare, not take off too much for sick time, and still provide for retirement at the end of their life. So you can see how people are busy, and it's hard to keep them engaged. But engagement is a key issue. And then, like here in Norman, we had a mayor. The police department endorsed her. We had no idea she was going to vote to remove $865,000 from the police budget. That people present one way, and then they get into office, and it's not what you voted for. So I would say that my district needs more awareness about his votes and his voting history, because he definitely presents as a moderate or a conservative Democrat, but he's not.
Yeah, I think a lot of people deal with that. I know myself, COVID kind of brought everybody out, and they were like, whoa, okay, we got some real big problems here. And we've been living with our eyes closed for so long, so maybe that's a good thing. Activism in the community is something that has been missing for a long time. So, and here you are, and thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for the willingness to serve your community or whatever. I give you kudos for that.
It takes a lot to put yourself out there for sure, and to run against. How long has Jacob been in office currently?
Since 2017, he came in on a special election, was reelected in 2018 and 2020. I campaigned for the woman that ran against him in 2020, and it was 79 votes different.
Oh, wow.
That's close. That's close.
That is close.
And just to be,
we changed our district change. So who knows what's going to happen tomorrow?
I want to be frank and honest with you. I have invited Jakey Poo on here as well. And Jacob and I, we are good friends. We have had lots of conversations. So Jacob, if you're watching, you are more than welcome to come on here, just like anybody else is. We don't cancel up in here. So
yeah, I reached out to Jacob this morning as well.
Oh, did you? Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, because y'all aren't in my district, so I haven't followed your campaigns and such. So I just figured it was fair to at least offer, him to come out and have a conversation with us. But Kendra,
are you familiar with what happened here in Owasso with Tim?
Yes.
Being banned from his local school board because he spoke out against graphic sexual novels that his daughter had found. What do you see as something a legislative branch could do to fix that issue, where you can't just willy-nilly ban a parent for annoying the crap out of you or whatever?
I think his situation is probably going to be handled with that court case. I don't know that we could do anything legislatively. I mean, it's freedom of speech. It's those are public schools. When you agree to be on a school board, you agree to listen to every opinion. You agree to hear everyone's voice. That's just part of it. I get a lot of opinions, and here's the thing I always say, sorry, Ron, hold on. But the thing I always tell my people my parents, when they're complaining to me is, number one, thank you for using your voice and advocating, because we should start appreciating that. When we stop appreciating people who are advocating, especially for their children and what they believe in, that's not a constitutional republic.
So right. I was going to speak to that because I don't know that we've even mentioned it or not, but you sit on the board for a charter school, I believe.
Yes, charter school here in Norman.
So parents get to come to y'all's meetings and get to speak to y'all, same as regular public schools. I'm not really into the whole charter stuff.
So we have a charter school would be a public school, publicly funded, privately ran. So it does classify as a public school. And we have a law, the Open Meetings Act, that requires those public meetings to be conducted in a certain way. And that rule applies to charter schools and public schools. And, I think I went to a meeting recently and people were like, well, they won't respond to us. They won't answer our questions. And some of that falls under the Open Meetings Act. We can't discuss or talk about anything. Number
Right.
one, it's not on the agenda. You can have free comment as the public, but we can't respond. And that's not personal choice. That's not us being ugly or ignoring you. That's just the law. And we're very, we have an attorney that sits at our meetings and makes sure we follow those laws, because that's a responsibility that we take on as a board member. But advocacy and freedom of speech and being able to stand up is that's what we're allotted. And for someone to shut you down on that was wrong, very wrong, and makes me very angry.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I've been an activist at the school for 2 years now or whatever. So I don't know what their reasoning was, to be honest with you, but hopefully that court case, plays itself
I know what
out.
the reason. I know what the reasoning was.
Well, I can only speculate, but did you read that TRO? I assume the judge's decision. Did you read it?
I did. And I had a meeting with Maria a few weeks ago. She's fantastic. You couldn't be in better hands. We all need to be supporting and raising money for her cause, because I think she's going to make a lot of movement happen here in Oklahoma with just some common sense, follow the law kind of things.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. And I think she's wonderful. So
now do you run school board for kids, or is that something you were like just a part of?
Yeah, I was a part of that until I filed for election. Just a grassroots.
What are you talking about? What's school board for kids?
Here, I can pull it up here if you don't mind. Is that,
And also,
you okay with
I
that?
got to say hi to Todd.
Yeah. What's up, Todd? It looks like we got another almost CPA here. Got the 150 hours and then decided not to go for the CPA. That's okay. Oh, by the way, he says that he appreciates you.
Thank you.
Oh, Todd's good people, man. I love Todd.
Yeah, so I'll just put school board for kids up here on the screen.
There you go.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that. Did you start it, or were you were just part of that?
I
group?
did not start it. It was started by a gentleman named Reed Downey, and he came up with this idea. He was appalled when he started seeing test scores across the state. Your elementaries there in Tulsa, as a matter of fact, I don't think there's a single elementary where over 50% of the kids are reading in anywhere at their grade level. So you've got 34%, 25%. What do you have? 12 little elementaries there, and none of them. And I wish, sometimes I just want to say to parents, grab a book, your child's reading level, and see if they struggle to read that. Can they read that? Because we just keep passing them. And I know at our school, we were looking at test scores, and there was a grade, 5th grade test scores were lower. And I started looking and I counted back. Okay, 5th grade, 4th grade, 3rd grade, COVID year. So they're still 5th grade. They're still behind from COVID and school shutdowns, from not being able to attend class. That was a huge mistake. It was hard for parents here in Norman to work, job loss, stress. Those kids need to be in class. When we didn't know what was going on in the beginning, let's take a minute, see where we're at. But classrooms being shut down for that long was a huge problem. And those kids are going to suffer the consequences of that for a long time.
Yeah, what's crazy to me is that the reading scores are so low, and children are struggling to read, but the ones that do want to get to read go into the library and they look at graphic novels because that's popular among youth, and then they become accosted with pornographic materials. So and then the response from a lot of the schools is, well, you can just keep your kid out of the library. What sense does that make? Can do you think that there's anything you can do as a state representative to squash that and to get rid of that? Because the boards and the districts just, I don't think, are listening.
So common sense. What do we do? A, keep all kids out of the library, or B, keep pornographic books out of the library.
Right.
Like, what is the question? What is the argument there?
Right.
I know.
So thrown by that. We're supposed to be at school to be educated. We don't need teachers to be our children's parents. We don't need, we love our teachers. We need them to educate and provide that strong foundation for a future. What a stress to be a teacher and have to be a parent, a social worker, a counselor. This has gotten way off track.
I'll even say that I had 2 teachers on, one from TPS and one from Bigsby yesterday on the Ron. And it is a lot of work just to teach children.
Yes.
So then you throw all these laws and rules and regulations and these these other hats on top of what they're just there to. I wouldn't stick around for that. And I asked the teachers on the show yesterday, is your job harder today than it was 2 years ago? And they absolutely it is, because we have so many things we have to do that stray away from just teaching the basics.
That's right. And their authority's been compromised with cell phones. I know in Norman,
Oh yeah,
they don't do a lot about cell phones because parents call and say, I have a right to call my child. I have a right to text my child during the day. Well,
not in public schools. You don't. I don't agree with that statement.
I don't agree with it either. We implemented a program at our school this year to the phones have to be put away once you hit morning bell and not gotten back out until your parent picks you up or it's after school care. And but I don't think anybody's talking about the stress on the kid. I mean, we're talking here about what adults need and what adults want, right? We want but what if you're a child and you're sitting in your math class and you're about to take the biggest test of the year and you get an Instagram post where little whoever has just put an ugly picture of you on? That's devastating to a kid, and they're going to bomb that test.
That happens.
What about the stress on our kids?
I can't imagine. That's a great point. And Tim, you can speak to this, because when you got the letter from the school on a Friday, I mean, it ruined your whole weekend.
It did.
You could not do anything.
Yeah, I had 2 weddings to DJ. I was literally about to go to a wedding when I got that, and it was rough.
But you have experience on your side. You know, at your age, and you look fairly young to me, but you know, as someone over 20, that experience tells you you're going to be okay.
You're such a politician.
Well, you know, going back to the phone things, I'm going to pull something up here, and I'll just give me your opinion on this. This is it's basically kind of an honor system, really, where in the classroom they have this little base, and each kid will get this pouch. So the kid can have the phone on them, but it's locked away in this pouch. And if they need to, for whatever reason, get to their phone, they can unlock it with the base that's either found in the hallways or, you know, wherever it is. You know, that might be something that we could go to.
Amazing. That's a great idea.
Yeah, it's I've been looking at that for a little while, and they're not even that expensive. You know, I think schools could do that. That way the kids still have the phone on them, and if an emergency comes up, they can themselves unlock it. But that'll keep the what's up, Ron? You got something to say? Here
it is. You get one of the, what is it? The electronic, where you shut down all the electronics. What is that called?
Oh, you're talking about like a signal. It gets rid of all the signal.
Yeah, all the signal, except during the 5 minutes you're changing classes.
Yeah, teachers probably wouldn't like that because
it's the principal. He or she flips a button. They can look at their phones while they're changing classes, but when they're in class, your phone is a weight.
Yeah, I don't know if that's even legal.
I don't give a shit if it's legal or not. I'm gonna work on it.
Or they could just walk to the office and use the landline to call their mom or dad when they need something.
I don't know how we survived in the 80s and 90s without these handheld devices.
You never went to the office together. I never did. And then I got home from school without a phone, and I saw my mom about 7 p.m. when she walked in the door.
Well, you know, sadly, the trust with schools have been eroded so much that there might be parents that are like, I don't know that I feel comfortable having my child there without my inability to get a hold of them. Because it was stressful for me just sitting at home knowing that I couldn't get to my child if I needed to, and if I did, I'd go to jail. You know, that was stressful, even if I didn't need them. So
yeah. And on the flip side, there has been some really great information caught on camera phones and stuff from students that I didn't know about, that I had to correct and would have never known had it not been for the phone. So
same for me. That's a good point too.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword there. But you know, I feel like you can tell the kid to, you know, turn the phone off, put it away. If they pull it out, get onto them, send them to the office. I think that's something that teachers aren't really doing anymore, sending people to the principal's office, which is strange to me. There was a class that my daughter has. She has to leave the class because it gets so loud. And I'm like, look, this teacher can't keep these kids under control. Then maybe they need another teacher, or somebody else needs to come in there. And that's what they did. They ended up, the principals were watching, I guess, secretly watching the classroom. And they came in there and they're like, next person that acts up, you're out. So yeah, I think it fixed it for the time being, but that's definitely a problem in schools.
I'm gonna switch gears here real quick if y'all don't care.
Switch it up, man.
You know how I like to do. Kendra, I think right now, this is just my opinion, and I've only been wrong twice. I've been married 3 times, so I pretty much know a bunch of stuff. We as a country are completely divided. I mean, right now, Tim and I, we disagree on quite a bit as far as politics and policies and stuff like that go. But we come together every day and we try to hear all sides of the story. Now, would you consider yourself a bipartisan supporter of things? Like, do you want to meet people in the middle and try to figure it out? Or are you just Democrats suck, stay on your side of the aisle and we'll just fix it over here?
Well, I don't know if you remember, but I live in Norman. I love our Democrat people here. They're very smart, very well versed. I think that what I'm hearing overwhelmingly at the doors is we all want the same thing. We want a safe community. We want our children to live close to us when they grow up, and we want them to be well educated. I think where we get into arguments is on the pathway to get there. I feel like one side just wants to give it and one side wants it to be earned. And I think that those pathways get crossways. And then the argument becomes who's right or who's wrong. But when I start to feel that way, I actually will say to myself and to anyone else, isn't this just so much bigger than us and our wants and our needs? Isn't this a whole community of people who were trying to do the best thing for a whole community of children? And when you take yourself out of the equation and you look at the overall and look at it from a 30,000 feet view, I think that you come up with a whole different perspective.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because people often are selfish is probably too strong a word, but
selfish.
I mean, we're egocentric. I think that's human nature, and
100%.
a lot of people are unable to pull themselves out of that perspective.
The last thing I'm going to do when I go to advocate and someone needs me is go, well, got a question for you. Republican, Independent, Democrat, Libertarian, Patriot, what are you? I mean, that's the last question that's going to be asked. We do have to form into our groups while we're running. And I may be so bold as just to say the boxes are the problem. When you meet someone,
I love that.
You're a liberal, you're a Democrat, you're a Republican, you're too conservative. When you start hitting those boxes, that's where division occurs. Right there.
Well, that happens to us a lot because people, and we portray these characters I play an asshole on Facebook, but people, when they meet me in person, they're like, you are nothing like I thought you would be in real life. And the same thing for Tim. People walk away from Tim all the time from my side of it. And they're like, I really like Tim. He's very personable. He's very fun to hang out with. And that is what this whole internet stuff is just really dividing us.
It is social media, internet, people who act I've learned when someone's asking me a question and they're kind of coming at me, I've just learned to go, hey, why don't we talk about this over a cup of coffee or something? Because I need to see your face.
Right.
So I don't do a lot of the arguing on Facebook anymore because
I do. I love it.
Well, that's whatever floats your boat. But for me, I want to see your face. I want you to hear my meaning and know, because
no, that's good.
When I first started, I would get offended so much and I'd be like, oh my gosh. And then I started to realize it was me, not the person. It was me reading the text wrong, using the wrong voice in my head to read the text. And so face-to-face is, you want to get something accomplished and you want to stop divisiveness, face-to-face is a great way to help with that.
Yeah, we were talking about that just yesterday, I think, because there's no nuance in the text. You read it in whatever emotional state you're in at that moment. Right. And it's, it's kind of wild because those people begin to hate each other. But I'll say this, there are people that I have gotten into it with and disliked me to the point where they blocked me from Facebook that still came and showed up at that board meeting for me, knowing it was me, this person that they didn't like, because what's wrong is wrong. And I think at the end of the day, man, if we can all do that, I think we're going to, be okay. And I want to give a shout out to Tina.
She's here. Tina, I knew Tina would show up.
Thanks for coming out.
I knew I'm going to do this for Tina.
He's going to sign the jailboard joy. That cracks me up. Was Melissa giving those out? Aren't those yard signs?
Yeah, Melissa
Did
and
somebody-
I. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
I love Melissa. I know that you and her have had your problems, but Melissa's a good girl.
Yeah, I get along with her okay. Well, let me ask you this, Kendra. From a legislative perspective, I've heard through the grapevine that people that are just coming in are basically told to lay low. Just feel it out for a year or whatever. But there's not enough time to do that. Do you think? Or are you going to lay low, or are you going to kind of feel it out and work those connections first, or how's that going to work?
It's not about the connections for me. The only connection I'm concerned about are the people in House District 46. So if they need something done and they feel a push that they need better representation in any area, then they're gonna hear from me. I didn't run to serve anyone up at the Capitol. I ran to serve the people in my district, and that's another thing that we've gotten all wrong. I've literally had people say, "Wow, I get your cell phone number," and I'm like, "I'm your neighbor. I'm gonna see you at 7-Eleven, our neighborhood Walmart. Why wouldn't you have my cell phone number?" I'm supposed to be advocating for you, helping you. It's not about making laws alone. It's about helping the people in your district and representing them.
Thank you.
Right.
And Tim, I'm going to go. This is a good continuity here. You and I talked about this earlier this morning, and I'm a Kendra Wesson fan, and I'm not a Jacob Rosecrans. I'm sorry, Jakey. I'm sorry. The dude seems good, like a good dude, but we have had conversations to where he has told me I'm going to vote my conscience, and vote for what I believe. And Kendra, I don't mean to offend, but to me, legislators, representatives, y'all are a tool that
That's right.
were placed there to represent your constituents and not your feelings.
And that's why we go back to the beginning when you said, "Why did you decide to run?" And I said, because the people of House District 46 weren't being represented the way that they needed to be. And that's that piece of that. Take all the opinions in, listen to it all. And then at the end of the day, we decide how best to present that representation at the Capitol. And that's why who you vote for matters.
Right.
Would you ever vote for, maybe this is a pointed question, but would you ever vote for legislation that you had a lot of feedback on from the community that you didn't necessarily jive with in your own personal thought?
Ooh, that's a good question.
If it didn't cross my fundamental beliefs, yes.
No, let's just say it. If somebody asks you to vote to support abortion,
well, that's a big one.
A person?
Or multiple people.
if you had 80% of your constituents that said we want you to make abortion a legal thing,
I think that crosses the fundamental belief system for her, probably.
Well, I mean, all abortions 6 weeks and after. There's way too many outliers on that. I am
don't answer if you don't have to. I mean, here's the thing.
I'm extremely pro-life in my personal choice. I do understand that there are people who have felt compelled that they need an abortion, and I'm not in the position at all to judge them or to not think about them or not love them or care about them. If it came across, that would probably be one of the hardest things that I would have to do. I don't even really like thinking about it.
I mean, that is a tough one, because that's.
I'm gonna answer the question for you. If I was an elected official and somebody, and 80% of my constituents came to me and said, "We want abortion to be legal," and I am a Christian, go to church, don't believe in abortion, and those are my values, I'm going to tell them I'm going to have to resign because I cannot personally do that.
Yeah.
That is a tough one.
That's it. And I this is where I kind of stray with the Republican Party. As a man, I cannot even fathom getting involved in a woman's choice to do whatever she wants to with her body. But also, I'm not about killing babies. So whatever. That's such a bad topic. Why did you bring it up, Tim?
I didn't bring that up. You did, sir. That is funny. So what do you think when you go in, if you win, what do you think your number one priority would be, like, day one? What is
She better have the
thing
answer to this one.
yeah, that you're just
I
like,
do. I'm
okay,
going to
we're doing
organize
this.
my office. I'm going to digging into, something I'm passionate about is people are really having a hard time making ends meet right now, from young families to elderly retirees. There is no doubt that our dollar is not worth what it was 4 years ago, or even 2 years ago,
Absolutely.
a year ago. We just a year in, but a year ago. And we need to figure out ways to relieve that and stop taking so much of their money. I think that that's another thing people have lost perspective of. The government doesn't have any money, guys. They don't have money. That money comes from us. That's our money, goes to them. They're a holding tank, and then they decide how to spend it. And I don't know very many people that would even give a neighbor $40 and say, hey, spend this how you want, and not hold them accountable or ask for accountability. So why are we so trusting in the government to do that?
Yeah.
Have you seen, Tim, the Oklahoma Public Schools bond issue that's coming up tomorrow?
No, huh?
$1 billion.
Yeah, I mean, but we're talking a bunch of schools, man.
Right, a bunch of schools that are delivering, a bunch of schools that are delivering less than 50% proficiency.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly issues here. I think one of those is going to the fact that you've got administrators that are making 2-3 times what the average teacher is making. I don't understand.
Yeah, speak to this. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well,
average teacher.
Oh, look,
Kendra, like what, 45, 50,000 now?
Yeah, we pulled some stats for Norman.
52 maybe, because it went up, I know, in the last several years.
This is my whole stack of research that I'm having to flip through. So let's get it here. All right. So Norman Public Schools, the average teacher pay in 2011 through 2012 was $46,000.
See, that's crazy to me, because
10 years later, it's $57,564 for the average teacher.
So today, currently, it's 57,000
in Norman,
which is in Norman.
In Norman's probably expensive.
Yeah, that's not that you're not able to make a living.
And then, so our police officers start off right around that range.
Yeah.
And
they start off at 57?
Huh?
Right at 60, yeah. Right at 60.
Ours in Norman aren't that high. I think they're more around 55. But
yeah, I think Owasso is like 45 or something like that.
Police officer?
Yeah, I think so.
48.
Is it 40? Yeah. Yeah, it's not all that much.
And these are people that protect us, firefighters. I mean, these are people having to fight daily to make ends meet, and they're fighting fires, protecting our lives, teaching our kids. But then the people who manage these people that do the work are making 3-4 times what these other people are.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, the teacher's job is so much more difficult than the administrator.
Well, and how many CEOs would be retained and rehired with bonus if they were performing at less than 50%?
Right. Right. Well, we've seen CEOs get bonuses after, their company lost a bunch of money or screwed something up. I mean, it's weird how they, jump around like that. But, and do you know if there's something that you could do legislatively to fix that? I mean, is that something that you guys have talked about?
Well, a school district's controlled by the school board. I think there's a misperception there as well. School board members are in control of the superintendent, and typically the superintendent's in control of everyone else. So we need to better educate our school board members on what to look like, what financial responsibility is, make them understand that they do have the oversight and they are actually responsible for the financials of that school. I don't believe the OSSBA trains them that way. And so they come out thinking that they're beholden to that superintendent, and he's super popular, guys. Thanks. They're beholden to that superintendent, and in reality they're the ones in charge. They're the ones responsible. they're the ones who bear the burden. And I think that school board members need to pick up more of that burden.
Yeah, I agree. I actually told the board that one day. I'm like, you guys are in charge, not the administration here.
Yes.
You're the one that gets to decide this stuff, because we were talking about board policy that is kind of led to my banning, I guess. I don't think they get it. They just stare at you with dead faces or not even look at you. It's crazy.
It can be a fine line too. I've struggled with this on the other side of the fence, being a school board member. How much do you definitely don't hire someone and then step all over them and not let them do the job either. So it is like everything else, a delicate balancing act. You've hired him, you're confident in that superintendent or her. And how much do you oversee them? How much do you micromanage? But I think, again, it's one of those situations where you back out and you look at who we're there for, serving the kids, what's best served them, what's going to get those grades up, what's going to make their lives better. That's the job. The job isn't moving up to my next administrative position. The job isn't, no, I'm out of examples. But the job is to make sure that these kids get a really good education, right? That's the job.
Right.
So when did we stop focusing on that job? When did we start focusing on, bigger, better buildings for sports, bigger, better activity centers and all of this kind of stuff? When did education become last place?
Right.
Actual education. When did that happen?
I don't know. I know that when I was in school, a lot of these same issues existed. Granted, I don't know that they were putting like pornographic stuff into the libraries.
No,
but, Todd does have a question here.
We like to bring parents in on our stuff, and
would Kendra support laws making it illegal to dox or harass public servants?
We already have a law. Well, public servants as in officers, or we have
elected officials.
Elected officials.
Maybe, yeah.
Dox or harass elected officials. I mean, this bill may already have it covered, but
no, I don't. No, I wouldn't support that, Todd, because some people need to be doxxed. I'll just say it. You may have a pedophile out there that needs to be doxxed.
So
Ron said that.
Means, right?
Right. It's giving out a home address, phone numbers, that kind of stuff.
I'm a different person.
With the intent for someone else to do them harm.
Right.
I'm a different person.
Yeah.
I'm a different person. I put my home address out there. Come at me, bro. I'm a different person. Don't take my word for it. This is just me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think maybe because a lot of people use.
I don't know how you navigate that. I mean, there has been some fear for me running. There was a Republican candidate last week whose home was shot at. I mean, there has been a level of fear. The bill's already passed for police, Todd. That passed, and our representative didn't show up to vote for that. But that bill is there. It actually came out of Norman. So we had a page here on Facebook. And man, you guys, it's been so crazy here. But this Facebook page came out in 2020, the Norman Police Accountability page. And they put officers' faces, their kids' faces,
you can't do that.
Wives' faces, said ugly things about their families, where they lived. And so they got a warrant, tried to get Facebook to turn over the messages and all the things from that account. Facebook never even responded to the subpoena. You guys don't realize how these social media are superpowers. They're mega powers.
We do. We do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't, maybe that's what needs to be changed.
Two other pieces of legislation I want to ask you about. How do you feel about moving school board elections to the general versus April? And if not to general, would you support a recall for 5-year terms or being able to recall school board members if they're negligent in their duties?
So that's House Bill 1643, guys. I'll put it right there.
What?
Let me pull it up here.
Oh, Tim, this lady's on it, son.
So
you said 1643?
Yes. Yeah. And it was in 2021. And it came out of Norman as a result of, it came out of Cleveland County as a result of those actions. And
Cleveland County, I can't stand that superintendent. Ooh.
So We do need to make school board elections on a different date. I'm fine with November. And I know School Board for Kids and some other groups are actually advocating for that. I think that's a great idea. But we also families need to realize that schools are not like they were when we were kids. And I don't know that, I think there's still a lot of people who don't realize the drastic changes that have happened in our schools. Believe it or not, as much as we all talk about it, a lot of people are not on Facebook, guys. I mean, we think everybody's on Facebook. They're really not. They don't see any of this. They don't hear any of this.
Right.
So what's an effective campaign to make parents? And here's the other thing. You don't need kids in school to be a part of a school district or a school board member voting. You are affected by that school. You're paying ad valorem property taxes to support that school. And secondary, 20 years is not a long, or an 11-year school career is not a long time. Those kids are going to get out and serve your community. So you have a huge say in their education and what they're being taught and how they're going to grow up to be, because they're going to be your leaders. They're going to be the future community leaders for you. So I think that people think, oh, I used to hear that all the time. I don't have kids in school, so I don't get to have a say in that. Yes, you do. You're paying for another service. You're giving your money to the government to have that school. And don't you want to know where your money's going? I mean, I think that we just need a huge campaign on the way things work. I just feel like, and there's just so much. Sometimes I'm like,
it's too much. It's almost like they make it too complicated for regular folks like myself to delve into to fix.
I do feel that way. I'm just like, fire, squirrel, squirrel. Which one's the most important?
Yep.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. It's hard to keep track of everything.
The kids were the most important. Remember how if you went to a door to sell one of your little goodies for a school fundraiser, if you said it's for the kids, you were getting that sale. I mean, and I don't feel like kids are the priority, and this is just my feeling. I don't feel like kids are the priority in that way that they used to be. There are other things that are overshadowing the priority of just children being the priority.
That you bringing that up actually brings something else to mind, because I hear a lot of that where people, it's for the kids, and they use that excuse, that talking point or whatever, to push just about anything they want to. One of the things is a program called Gaggle that will essentially monitor your child from their home on their personal computer. Do you think that is something that and without permission from the parent, and they never even tell you that they're doing it, is that something that we should be okay with? I mean, is that something that you might be interested in changing?
Okay,
thoughts
so
on that?
I think I'm unclear. Gaggle on their home computer or on their school issued computer?
So, well, on both. So it attaches to Google, and now at post-COVID, everybody's gotten these, everything's online now. All their homework is through the Google Classroom. So they have to go on there and they have to do their homework on a computer to use Google Classroom, whether it's on their phone or whatever. So anything they do there, any interaction, any typing, any searches while they're logged into that is being monitored and read in real time by Gaggle. I mean, that's something.
Really like that.
What's that?
I don't really like that. I don't like any information collecting in that way. If someone wanted to expose that later, and that kid had an incident that was an innocent incident, and they were accused of something, and someone could go back and use that history against them, no. Yeah.
So that's what I had been coming after the school about for 2 years. I mean, we're talking 10 plus board meetings I've spoken about it, and I've filed FERPA complaints, federal FERPA complaints. I mean, I've tried my best, but now it's to the point where legislation is the only action that will be left, because they just don't care. They never brought it to the agenda. Which kind of goes back to Ron's question. I don't know if it was answered. Maybe you had answered it about recalls for board members. Because if they're just ignoring it, I don't know.
I was all for recalls up until I was actually part of a recall. And the time and money spent on that. And this is tough, because are your terms 5 years like ours are?
Yep.
That
cap the terms.
Changes my whole mind sometimes. But the thing is, I think that we would be better served to put our focus on getting the right people in the first place and advocating and campaigning for the right people, because it's half the work of a recall. I think if we were smart people, I shouldn't say smart people. I think if we were,
Use, use common sense.
I think if we could just realize, if we could just see and get everyone to realize that doing it right from the beginning is so much easier.
Yep.
And we're involved now. We're active now. What's stopping us from getting those right people in there? The thing we found out with the recall is by the time you get the recall finished, almost a year's gone by. And if they fight it in the courts, you're looking at another 12 to 18 months. By the time you get there, you're ready to reelect anyway. So all that time and money's been wasted because now they're out the door and everyone is torn apart and fighting over whether or not to recall them. Just collectively agree to get behind that right candidate. But with the 5-year span, it does change my, like, how far are they into their term? 6 months. 6 months you realize you've got a toad. I don't know that I wouldn't be against, a recall there, but we don't have recall for school board members in Oklahoma. So
we don't have recall for anybody except Governor Stitt and Lieutenant Governor.
Well, we have recalls available according to your city's charter by city.
If it's in the charter.
If it's in the charter. So, but some cities like Edmond have a charter. Their recall process is that every person who wants to sign the petition has to do it in front of the city clerk while she's at work.
Oh, wow.
Basically, if you took 30 seconds for every signature needed, the time frame's not there.
Right.
And that's if she doesn't go to lunch and if she doesn't do her job the whole time. That's just back-to-back signatures. It's an impossibility to happen.
But there's nowhere in Oklahoma can you recall a school board member.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, what about capping the term limits? Because that way you just well, I mean, not term limits, but the years that they stay on the board.
Term.
I mean, put it into 2 years, cap it at 2 years. That way, if they're good, they can get reelected. If they're not, you can get them out in 2 years.
Yeah, I don't know why they were ever 5-year terms with 1 per year. I don't know the thought process behind all of that. The world has changed so much. Our laws are behind, our processes are behind, everything is lagging. Think about your kid, the kind of tech. I mean, since I was in high school, I graduated in 93. 93 had a bag phone. Now I've got a computer in my hand. Technology in that amount of time, I guess that's been a long time, but
93, I'm 95, baby, so.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Yeah, technology is definitely, I think, I don't know, it's a blessing and a curse.
It is.
And technology in school, we needed technology in school. We didn't understand computers. We needed to be work ready when we graduated. We needed to have that knowledge and be able to compete in the technology field. But when every kid's holding a computer in their hand now, I think we've got technology covered. Maybe we go back the other way. Maybe we say we do basics at school. You get your technology. My kid can hack anything.
Yeah.
My 8-year-old can.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a funny story. My son, I think he was 8 or 9 at the time. He was using a program called Cheat Engine to hack into the game to give himself, free money and stuff. And I'm like, I was proud of him because I've used it myself. And let me tell you, it is a process to do it. Like, you have to really sit there and figure it out. So I was like, okay, son, that's good.
Did you know colleges have implemented ways to see if you're cheating on your math assignments? Because you can go online now and have problem solvers.
Mm-hmm.
And
I used it. I used it in college. I did.
Yeah, well, college now, like they used to have a program that would search your paper and make sure that you weren't plagiarizing.
Right. Which
math problems, make sure that they're not plagiarizing math problems. And I don't know, back to the basics on it. And
that's it.
Here, I'll tell you what, since you brought that up, and this is unrelated to a campaign or anything like that, there's this website here, Wolfram Alpha. You can type in just about any equation that you want to, and it will solve it. We're talking chemistry, algebra, everything.
You're letting everybody know.
Yeah, well, so what it does, it's actually a useful tool to teach because it shows you the breakdown of every step that it took to get to that point. And if you pay for that, it even has tutorials and stuff to show you how to do that. So
see, and I learned that way. So that would have been useful to me to learn. And then what they should do is show you how to break down a problem and then give you a similar problem and say, hey, you do it now.
Exactly.
I learned that way.
Yeah.
That's the way I learned
And-
too. Yeah.
See that, but that's targeted technology, and I think that's important rather than, well, we're just going to throw a bunch of tech at it and see what sticks, which is what they're doing now. Like every kid's getting the Chromebooks. Like now I don't want my kid learning history on a Chromebook. I don't want my kid.
Either.
Yeah, it's wild to me that they're trying to, because like math, we got a math class where they just put a video on the Chromebook and you just watch the video, and if you have any questions, the teacher's there. And I'm like, man, you are kneecapping the teachers. I don't know if there's a way to fix that from a legislative standpoint. Is that something that you guys have talked about on the campaign or even thought about? I mean,
no, I think about it a lot. We haven't talked about that on the campaign. But for me, it started way back when Norman Public Schools got their first set of MacBooks. And I realized that my daughters had email addresses that I had no access to.
Oh my God.
Scared me to death. It terrified me. And I didn't understand. So I called the school and I was like, I just need the password to their email. And they're like, no, we can't give that to you. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So they can have a conversation with someone.
Wow.
Some of my kids are adopted. So, we've got bio family we don't necessarily want them communicating with that are unsafe. It was terrifying. It was a terrifying thing. And basically, we're just like you with Gaggle, basically told that's the way it is. And that's how it's going to be. They've got to have that email to log into their assignments. You don't get access to it, and kind of tough.
I've asked them to let me opt out, and they won't. And it's crazy because even Gaggle itself, on their terms of service, when you sign up, you agree to the terms, the school does, and in there it says you have to get parental permission. So when you call Gaggle and you say they didn't get parental permission, well, you need to talk to the school. We can't, the company itself won't talk to the parents at all. It is a wild circular thing that I've been dealing with, and it's just, it's
that's
crazy.
that's a good comment from Todd.
This is exactly right. This is absolutely right.
I do feel that, and parents' rights and responsibilities don't end when you drop them off at school.
No, they don't.
There's so many times that people feel, they're going to work. They're just trying. I think we need to give credit to parents that are just trying to survive and get by. That's right.
Yeah. And this is Todd's comment earlier. If you're working 2 jobs, you end up leaning on schools to teach kids, and you don't have a lot of time to get involved in that. Maybe this is, possibly all by design, where they make it where the family unit is all at work, right, so that there's no time to, spend with the kids.
Well, then we need to be advocating and helping parents understand, just like what you guys are doing, that our involvement is necessary. This is not the school that we had as kids. Things have changed, and there's a lot more happening during that school day than we could ever imagine.
I know that we're coming up on an hour. I want Tim and Kendra to have the last say, because I'm not very egotistical. I don't have to be the center of attention all the time. But Kendra, your hair looks phenomenal. Your eyebrows are on fleek. Good job there. So I just y'all finish it out. But yeah, we're coming up on an hour. I'm the time management guy. So.
Well, I mean, actually, go ahead. You got 7 minutes, floor is yours, I guess.
Tell us. Yeah.
Pitch me.
Yeah. Look to your producer. Go ahead. Yeah.
I want to see our state have more involvement in the political process, the education process. I want to see our people really knock it out of the park. School board elections here in Norman are 5-6% of registered voters.
Horrible.
And I think that the education that we're all doing to get the word out is great. Like I said before, we need to stop putting people in boxes and try to figure out what's the way to go with things. None of us fit in a box all the time. We don't fit, just like you said, Ron, you've got disagreements with Republicans. We all have our own. Yeah, we all have our own individual thoughts, and be respectful of those thoughts and learn how to communicate again without being divisive or calling names or, I just a little bit of kumbaya with that. But I also, if we're going to complain and we're going to talk about things and we're not doing anything, then we're just wasting everybody's time. And so I really want to encourage people to get out and speak your mind, advocate for your child, and anyone who's advocating, we should give them the respect of being able to do that. and be proud of them for using their voice, because we can't in the same sentence say use your voice and then say, well, I didn't like what you said, so shush. It doesn't work like that. But for House District 46, I want us to be represented at the Capitol as the city of Norman. Make sure these people's voices are heard, not hear silence the next time something happens with our police department or unconstitutional shutdowns or mandates from a tyrannical mayor who had no right to do any of those things. I want us to have a seat at the table to make sure that doesn't happen again, and just advocate and love our people and make sure they're taken care of and have their needs met. And that's the goal. I don't answer to the state capitol. I answer to my district.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah. I mean,
you got to put
fair.
Todd's comment up.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Let's see. Voter apathy is a horrible problem in Oklahoma. People think they can vote straight ticket for their party and everything will be all right. That's how rhinos evolve. Man, I couldn't agree with Todd more on this one.
Todd, that's a bullseye.
I can't do the vote. I don't think I've ever voted down ballot before.
I'm going to say this as a Republican. I think we need to do away with straight party voting. I really do. Do your research, find your candidate, and go vote for them.
Right.
Oh gosh, I had a good one. Now I lost it.
Yeah, go ahead.
That sounds like every day of my life. Oh, go for it.
Got it back. So I heard this thing the other day, and I see a lot of posts on Facebook and social media. I don't want to pick the lesser of two evils. I don't want any evil. And then I heard it rephrased: pick the one who will do the least amount of evil.
Nah.
And I really like. You don't like that, huh?
No,
I like it.
Pick the one that does the most amount of good.
Okay.
But if your choice is bad and bad or worse, I see what she's saying. I think
Okay.
I think that's a fair point. Yeah.
Not voting because you don't like anyone. You're not marrying them. You're not, you've got,
Right.
you need to vote the best way you
Okay.
can you have there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Too often I find myself in that position. And I hate that, but unfortunately, we get a couple of candidates and we got to pick one of them. And, but like you said, to your point, that doesn't mean you shouldn't go and vote and do what you said, vote for the one that will do the less evil.
And not voting in the vote, especially here in Norman. Our elections
Exactly.
are 50. We have some that were 30 last cycle, 30 people, 30 votes apart. So you're making a vote. You're making a statement, whether you mean to or not. So just don't throw your hands up and say, I'm just not going to engage. I'm not going to vote. It's too complicated. I don't know. There's just, in this day and age, websites everywhere, Facebook, everyone's got one politically. And, just take a moment. This ballot, everyone needs to look at. Oklahoma voter portal will have, you log in with your name and birthday, and then you go to a sample ballot and it shows you exactly what's on the ballot. I think we've got 12 races and maybe 6 or 8 judges. So it's going to be a big, long ballot. You want to take a look at that before you go down there. So I'm encouraging people to do that as well. That's a great program the state of Oklahoma has put out to help us know what's happening. I think that the nervousness of going into the voting booth and not knowing how or who or what also creates voter apathy. It's stressful. It's tough. If you've never voted, it's an intimidating thing. So voting buddies, getting someone who's new to voting out, your kids, when they turn 18, get them to that box. Our kids go before they're 18 and they see how we do it. They're comfortable. We have a real fear in society right now of doing things that are different and going to do new things. We're not the entrepreneurial generation that we were. And it's tough for people. So let's help them out. Get them there. Show them what they need to do.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds great. Would you be, and I know there's only a couple minutes left, but would you in favor of automatic voter registration when you update your license or state ID? Where whatever the address was that you put on your license or your state ID, you automatically are enrolled to vote, registered at that address. Probably never thought of that before because I can't see any downside to it.
Give her a little bit of backstory, Tim.
Yeah, well, because something happened and my voter registration reverted back to an address that I lived at 15 years ago. And I'd been calling JJ all the time. I would call in JJ and he'd keep pushing my stuff over to the people out in Claremore. and he would never call me back. And then once he'd, talk to me about it,
But you lived in JJ's district.
yes, for the last, 8 years. And so it was a huge process for me to deal with moving from one county to the next, even though I'd already done it. So I don't know what happened, but I feel like the moment you register or you put an address on a state ID or a driver's license, just be registered to vote also.
Well,
You know
you've
what I
got
mean?
college kids and temporary people who can have a driver's license where they're located and still be registered to vote back home, where
Sure.
they actually, where they're permanent residents. So I think you have the permanent temporary residence dilemma. We have a lot of college kids here in Norman. It does bother me a bit that you can walk into the county election board and give them the last four of your social and have a voter ID right then, print it out. And that's all you have to have. That has bothered me. I don't know. I haven't given much thought to how to make that better. But there's a lot of things that we could fix. I know we had people here in Norman that were getting absentee ballots sent to an address, and then they would live in like Germany or Iran. And when we were working on the recall, I would go back and call the renter of that home, and they would say, well, they haven't lived at that address in 2 years, but here they've got an absentee ballot and it's legal being sent. They're voting from Iran or Germany, and that's just how it is. So I know we need to do some things, but I think one thing we want to be really careful of is not suppressing any voter, not making
right. Well,
any voter in any party at any time.
Yeah, I think my point behind that is that the registration itself for the general population, we don't have those, they're living off campus or whatever, generally speaking.
Yeah.
Just make it easy to register and just kind of like an automatic thing where you don't really think about it in most cases. You know what I mean? But if you're off campus, that'd be something else that you'd have to fill out an application for, obviously. But
well, we have it online. You can check your address and your voting history online. They put everything online. So for me, sometimes I think it goes back to the responsibility of that person to make sure that their vote's being heard and counted and taken care of too.
But you can't change county online.
You can't change county online?
No.
Nope.
Maybe that's something we could add in there.
Right.
Yeah, that should be an easy fix. And I know that you can, change from, if you're going in the same county, you can change it online. But if you're going from one county to the next, it's not there. But I mean, we are at an hour and 2 minutes. So did you have any last thing to say, Kendra?
No, thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate the time you took to talk to me and be so candid. And
that's how we do. We're loudmouths. We just do our doing. That's what we do.
Well, I think this is what people like. They like the unscripted and being able to hear what people really think and
the real feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate you coming out. And yes, vote tomorrow. Vote tomorrow. It's time to do the thing.
I'll say this: vote Kendra Wesson if you're in House District 46 in Norman.
I'm staying neutral. I'm staying neutral.
Yeah, Tim will stay
out
neutral.
of my district.
Tim, you gotta get Jakey Poo on here because I want to talk to Jakey Poo.
Yeah, I sent him a message. We'll see what happens. But you seem like a very well-intentioned person, and I don't support either one because y'all are out of my district. So I just leave it at that. But no, it was great to meet you. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Kendra.
Yeah, I hope you have a great watch party. I assume you're going to have one.
Are you going to Oklahoma City to do the?
I'll do one here in Norman with my people. So
that's appropriate. Yeah.
We may go up to Oklahoma City later or something, but that night I want to be with everyone who's worked so hard because these elections and campaigning, it's not a one-person deal. There's a lot of people behind the scenes that believe in you and work hard for you. So I want to be with them.
Awesome.
Yeah, you got Todd. I guess Todd lives in District 46. He's
I don't know.
Man, I don't know. He's pushing for you. I don't know where Todd lives.
You got a supporter here. Well, you got two at least.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have way more than that.
Thanks for being the odd guy out there.
I do what I can,
Yeah.
If we all got along, it wouldn't be any fun.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much. And you have a good one. And we'll see you next time.
All right. Awesome.
All right. Peace.
That was a good. I thought